evening, 12s, and welcome back to the Seahawks 360 podcast. I'm Candace Hagens.
And I'm Tino Ganasius.
We are back to discuss the Seahawks victory. I am really curious, Tino, to hear if you are still standing on business. I mean, you might be standing on business, but I'm just curious if you are still standing on business because the talk of the town. Now, Seahawks played on last Thursday, and so we've had a bit of a mini bye week here. But the talk of the town in between this time has been how good Sam Darnold has looked in the offense, how efficient he's been in the offense, and frankly, how rough Geno has been. And I myself, as a Geno apologist, have been surprised with how rough some of Geno's games have really been. But really curious to catch up with you. I know you've been, getting things ready, moving and everything on your end, but excited to know where you stand right now.
Let's see. I'm getting there. Let's say I'm getting there. So, yes, Sam Darnold's getting praised all over the place, right? National praise, national podcasts, everywhere. And he's been great. I think this is peak Sam Darnold, what we're seeing right now. 70% completion rate, 70 for 100 on the year, 226 yards a game, which, is not necessarily a reflection on him in that, it's not like the Seahawks are chucking the ball all over. They're not, chucking the ball all over the place all the time. 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. And I think, and he's getting incredible production from the skill players. I would say what I'm more shocked by. So let me rewind. I've always said you give Sam Darnold weapons and time, and he can be average to above average. Now, is he better than that right now? Yeah, absolutely he is. What I'm most surprised by is how well the skill players have played, how much the skill players are showing up. And I think obviously you have to start with JSN, 100.5 yards per game, 15.5 yard per catch average. Like he looks like a top 10 wide receiver. Both of those players
right now. Top two.
I'm saying in general, right? But if you take Arnold and JSN, I think they both have way outplayed my expectation. In fact, I think they've outplayed what I consider to be their peak performance. I did not know they had this ceiling. But you also, Torrey Horton looks like a player, right? Cooper Kupp has stepped up to a certain extent. AJ Barner looks like a legitimate two-way tight end.
Yeah.
The line, specifically the left side of the line, has held up. Charles Cross looks like a Pro Bowler. Zabel has held up. He looks like an average to slightly above average left guard right now. And I'd say Sundell has played well. So what I'm getting to is, yes, did I misevaluate Sam Darnold's potential? Absolutely. I'm here to say yes, I was wrong. But I think the only way he gets to that place is that he has time and he has weapons. And what I argued before the season is that JSN is not Justin Jefferson, but he's closer to Justin Jefferson than I thought he was, right? And that Cooper Kupp was washed. Is he washed? Pretty much. He's like a third down, short pass, kind of, over the middle sort of thing. But he's still performing. I think Darnold's weapons are playing better than I thought they would. The left side of the line is effective enough and holding up enough to give him enough time. And the other thing is Clint Kubiak has been phenomenal. He's been phenomenal. I think that the variation in formation has been, they're effective and empty, right? Then they go to like 2-3 tight ends. Then they go back to empty. And you can't really predict where he's going with these formations. He's running a lot of the same plays out of them, but there's a lot of unpredictability as far as formation goes. I think he's done an incredible job of mixing it up. I think we see he's on one end and Grubb is on the other. I think Kubiak has also surprised me. So what I would say is I was not excited for the combination of Kubiak and Darnold and Cooper Kupp and some of these other guys. What I did say was if Darnold has everything right around him, he has the potential to be decent. He's been better than decent, but the pieces around him, including the offensive coordinator, have been phenomenal. I was wrong. Now, is this going to hold up for the entire year? I don't think so. Are they going to win more than 9 games? I still think they win. I said 6, 7, 8 last episode. I'll say maybe 9 is the ceiling for me because I don't think this offense is going to continue this way for the entire year. But what they've done up to now has been phenomenal. I am very interested to see what happens against Tampa because Tampa's run defense has been very good. Vita Vea is darn near impossible to run against, right? The first round a number of years ago out of UW. 350-pound dude right in the middle of that defense. But their corners are banged up. So this is a Seahawks are a team that still wants to establish the run and establish that identity. I don't know if this is the week because their corners are hurt and this is a good run defense. But yes, as of 4 games, which I'll remind everybody is less than a quarter of the season now. Like, pump the brakes a little bit on this Darnold praise. But so far, so good. Absolutely. So far, so good.
Yeah, because it's 4 weeks in, I'm gonna be reserved. I'm gonna be reserved in
What?
my
You going the
I
other
told you
way?
so. No, I mean in
Oh,
my I told you so's. I'm being reserved in my I told you so's
okay.
right
Okay.
now. Just
I
because,
appreciate that.
yeah,
I need that. I
just
appreciate
I'm
that.
trying. I'm going to give some grace also because I don't
Right.
want to look stupid later. But to me, one of the things I hung my hat on was the Clint Kubiak offense, and I
Mm-hmm.
said it just gives you a floor that the offense just didn't have, and I don't think Sam Darnold needs to be any like to me. Even if we saw some regression from Sam Darnold back to if you think back to the mean, right? If you're
Mm-hmm.
not high on his performance, you think this is the top tier level he can get to. You're waiting on him to turn into the pumpkin. I just think the Clint Kubiak offense gives him a floor that will still keep the offense functioning. I love what he's doing. Like you said, the heavy personnel. Really love what they're doing out of that. In fact, they are the number one offense out of that 12 personnel set. Like they are
Mm-hmm.
the most efficient, most successful offense right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, curious about this Bucks game as well, but just excited from what I'm seeing, and because there's a lot more layers to it. So we all, even to your point about everything being right around Sam Darnold, I don't think everything's been right.
Well,
One, he got
Abe
sacked
Lucas
3 times against the Cardinals.
Abe Lucas
Cardinals
ain't right.
definitely.
Abe Lucas ain't
Card,
right. I can tell you that much right now.
Actually, they ran behind Abe Lucas quite a bit last game. He had a solid game. I don't think Abe Lucas is a star. I think he's solid. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always gonna be my argument. Like I don't think he's maybe who I thought he could be, but I definitely don't think he's.
How
Look,
many?
I
Wait,
don't
wait,
know
wait.
if you've seen these Anthony Bradford clips going around.
Yes, yes, I
The
have.
notion that
Well,
Abe Lucas is our weakest link, I have always thought was buffoonery, and finally maybe other people will
sorry.
begin to understand why.
Second weakest link. I apologize. Yeah. Hey, AB has been getting trashed, like nationally getting trashed.
Yeah,
Everywhere. He's getting clowned
he's
everywhere.
been getting. Yeah, I just kind of thought that saying he would be the weakest link was a little insane after what we've seen from Anthony Bradford, and I think that's proven out to be true. I don't think that's changing. I'll walk on that all day. Um,
We'll see this week. We will see
so
this week. We will see this week.
so, but I think that the run game is still very boom or bust. Like it's not. It's an improvement from last year, obviously, because last year was nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
you still see it even with Zach Charbonnet. We've
Which,
always it's hard to know what that attributes to. I'm sure it's a combination of things, but
right,
it's either a negative play or big game.
right.
Negative
Well,
play or
and
big game.
K9, so K9 61 yards per game on the ground. Um,
I think the Seahawks lead the league in negative run in like negative or stuffed run plays to this
yeah,
point. Now overall,
yeah.
I think they're uh, holding out to be all right. Let's see, we got coming
You
to
can hear me
the
now? We good?
episode.
We
Yeah.
good? Okay.
Uh,
I was gonna say a canine. What did I say? I'll
he
take
said,
Mitch
"I'll take
over
Mac." Oh, he
Darnold.
said Mac. Mac
Oh,
over Darnold. You can keep him. You know what? If I were y'all after that win, I too would take Mike Mac Jones because I
hey,
mean it was a
Mac
gutsy win last
was
night.
balling out. Mac was balling out.
Yeah, Mac was balling
Mac was
out for
balling out.
sure, and Purdy's
He looked like he was hurt the whole time too, though.
yeah, he
Like
did.
for real, looked like he was hurt.
I think he was
What I
too.
was saying before is K9 61 yards per game, but he had the one huge game, right? And so that
Mhm.
number doesn't necessarily tell the story. 4.2 yard average, which is decent,
It's
but
decent.
only a long of 21 yards. So he hasn't busted the big one either. And Charbonnet 32 yards a game and a 2.5 yard average. So the running game needs help. I also think, honestly, like I don't want to pump up the importance of Robbie Oots too much,
Yeah.
but I do think the plan was to truly utilize him in the run game.
Yes.
And with him out, they don't have a replacement. So you have a whole section of the playbook, in my opinion, that you kind of have to leave on the back burner until he comes back. And I think
Yeah.
that impacts the running game tremendously. Now Kubiak
Agreed.
deserves even more credit because he's been able to, continue calling great plays and have this offense going without a portion of the playbook.
Yeah.
Um, I can't say enough about the job Kubiak has done. Again, it's only been 4 games, and I am against really a tough Tampa Bay defense, despite lacking their corners. They're tough. Their front seven is tough, right?
Yeah.
Levante David is old in the middle as a linebacker, but he's been an All Pro for years. And Vita Vea is the best run stuffing defensive tackle in the game, right? And that's
Yeah.
that's clear to everybody. So it'll be. I don't know. I don't think this Seahawks team. I recognize what the offense has accomplished so far, Darnold and the receivers specifically. I don't think this team takes the next step, say to 10 wins or
Mhm.
more, until they establish a running game, right? Until they establish the idea that they can run the ball when they need to at the end of the game to protect the defense, right? To keep the defense off the field, or run that 4 minute offense where you're just trying to run down the clock, that sort of thing, and convert on third and short, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 with running plays. If they get to that point, and they have a more diverse and more balanced offense, yes, then we can have a conversation about them being a playoff team and a division winner. But until they do that, I don't know that they will be that team.
Well,
I don't,
I'll say this. I think it's a fair assessment. I'll say this. I'm curious to see how this plays out because right now, Seahawks are playing against a ton of heavy boxes, stacked boxes,
Mhm.
because they're running heavy personnel, and so teams are trying to match that. I
because
am
they don't
curious
and
on
because
this.
they don't respect Darnold. That's part of the reason why too. They're
Well,
playing.
when you're running out heavy tight end, I think it's got a lot more to do with the heavy personnel packages that they're running out, and you got to try to match that on your end,
Sure.
even if
Okay.
we don't have a run of the three. I think that's a personnel chess match more than it is Darnold, especially because he has like I think we've got a big enough sample size, especially when you include Minnesota. Yes, those were two big games that he blew. Also, how many games is Lamar Jackson gonna blow? So I think we can may have a little bit more leniency with him on those two games. But I will say I'm curious to see if teams are going to challenge to just say, we gotta cover JSN more. Like let's
Yeah.
let's let's open up let's open up the box a little bit more. Let's see if we can stop the pass game because that seems to be what's the bigger threat right now. I'm curious if they don't need to do anything else. If maybe teams will make adjustments that might ultimately end up benefiting the
Right.
Seahawks run game, if they can continue to even just do what they're doing, teams are going to have to adjust at some point. We're in week 4, so I wouldn't expect a ton of big adjustments right now. Too small of a sample size. But if we
Right.
get to week 8 and 9, I really begin to wonder, will things open up? Will your pass game open up your run game? Now that's the opposite of what we thought this team would be, but I
Right.
think it is very possible. And so I think, of course, I still stand by my 11 wins that I had earlier in the preseason, but I think that as fair of an assessment as you have, even if they don't fix the problem, if they don't fix the run game on their own, I think
Mhm.
situation could play to their favor in that way.
Right. I think it's a good point about JSN. I think if if I was a D coordinator going against the Seahawks, I'd be doubling him all day long,
Mhm.
or at least roll safety over the top, something like that. Because the other guys aren't. Horton might separate, but until he really truly proves that he can do it game in and game out, I'm not going to worry about him too much, right? And Cooper
Right.
Cup, you can cover with, you know, you can cover with a decent corner at this point. He can create space a little bit, right? Enough space with his body to catch a short pass, but he's
Yeah.
not a threat, right? He's
Right.
not Puka Nakua,
Mhm.
right? And so I think you're right. That will be very interesting to see. And again, like I said, Jamel Dean being out for the Buccaneers really takes away their number one corner.
Mhm.
And not that he's great, but takes away. And then Benjamin Morrison, I think he's a second round pick out of Notre Dame, is hurt. He was hurt at Notre Dame the whole time too, which is interesting. He's hurt
Mhm.
again. But you got two corners out, right? They've been
Yep.
declared out for this game. You got two of their top three corners that are not playing. And so even though we want the Seahawks to establish that running game, my guess is they're going to have to continue with the same formula that they've been running with because of the injuries. But yeah, I think the approach to JSN is going to change very, very soon, if not this week, from the opposing defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Did you see the injuries on the defense for the Seahawks and what they said about today?
Last I heard was I know Devin Witherspoon was unlikely to play. I kind of got that sense when he I kind of actually figured that Wednesday when it came back, he did not participate because we're
Mhm.
coming off of a mini bye week. And in my opinion, if he played in that game and now he's not, even limited in practice, I would assume there was some sort of a setback, which I
Right.
think plays out with what we saw on film at the end. He was really, really getting
He's
cooked
struggling. He's
down the
struggling.
stretch.
Yeah.
Saw the rust. I think he was definitely probably he wasn't himself. I know that for sure. So
So
um,
Lawrence, Spoon, and Love are out.
Love is for sure out. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know about
So
Love.
what they said though was so Eamon Wari was a full practice
Yeah,
for two
he's
days
back.
straight. They said Eamon Wari will get a lot more snaps. I would assume DeAnthony Bell and Ty Okada, unfortunately Ty Okada, will get some more snaps too. And then Derek Hall will take the starting spot of Demarcus Lawrence. And I'm not Hall and Lawrence is I think we'll get more pass rush and we'll get less, run
Run
defense from Hall.
for sure.
Um, which with we didn't talk about Bucky Irving and Mike Evans yet, but they're both out as well. With Bucky Irving out and Rashad White taking over at tailback, White is a slightly bigger back, but not nearly as explosive as Bucky Irving. And so,
Mhm.
Hall being or Lawrence being out is not to me as much of a detriment as it might be against a different team.
Yeah.
But I with Chris Godwin coming back and then Emeka Abuka looking phenomenal so far, their first round pick. It's I think Eamon Wari, he better be ready to cover, right? Or they better be ready to put him in positions where he doesn't have to be sticky in coverage. I
Yeah.
anticipate they play a lot of zone if they have to try to
I
cover
was
him
just
up
about
a
to
little
say that.
bit,
Yeah, they're gonna play
right?
zone.
And try to keep everything in front of him because you're not with no Spoon and no Love. I think you're playing with fire with matchups if you start to play too much man, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's
Yeah,
and the other thing is they got Tristan Wirfs back, their left tackle, who's arguably an All Pro, and Baker's been.
lights out.
You know what? Let's talk about this for a minute because I got a buddy that's a Browns fan too. I appreciate Baker Mayfield because people counted him out. He was a
I am
bust.
people. I
Yeah,
am people. Hello.
he was a bust, and I was rooting for him, because he really did come out of nowhere, and he's shorter and he's cocky. He had all the dance and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But he's a fighter, and
Yeah.
every team he plays for, the players love him. Right, he's the heartbeat of that team. This year, 226 yards per game, 59.7%, which isn't great, but 8 touchdowns, 1 pick, and he rushes for a ton of first downs. So I think any team with Baker and a decent defense is a threat, right? Bucky,
Yep.
like I said, Bucky Irving and Mike Evans down, their two best offensive skill players, is not great for them, but they do have players behind them that can play. So I'm not counting that offense out at all. And I think Baker in a close game, I take Baker over Darnold as far as executing at the end of the game and making stuff happen. So
Yeah.
it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens, Seahawks defense against the Buccaneers offense.
Yeah. No, for sure. In addition to being an amazing game to watch based on the uniforms alone,
Oh,
that's just gonna
that's
be
gonna be
a
live.
beauty. I
That's gonna be
mean,
live.
so in addition to that, this game is particularly interesting because these teams I'm not going to say these teams are similar, but the way they match up with one another, I think will tell a lot about the truth of who like which team is real. Like we're kind of in the phase of the season when you're wondering like who's frauds,
Right.
who's real, and these are the type of games that historically the Seahawks have lost against. When these moments come up, the story I'd say 6-7 years now have been when the rubber meets the road. Seahawks can't get it done. Like
Yep.
that's just been
Yep.
every time you think that they're building momentum, you think they're an elite team. When they have an opportunity to prove it,
Mm-hmm.
they falter. I
Mm-hmm.
think this would be a big deal. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a must-win game. I think this team has still got quite a bit of momentum ahead of them, and I'm licking my chops at the rest of this schedule. The Titans you were so scared of are 0-4, and by the way, I'm going to that game now. I'm
Oh, you
going to that
are?
game. I'm going
I
to the
love
game.
it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I love
Um,
it.
but
I know them prices came down after they started 0-4 though.
man, you can get in the door for $40. It's crazy. I
I'd be
checked
going
the ticket.
too.
I checked the tickets, man.
Hey,
If I
if we
waited,
could fly right now, I'd be there to go see the game.
if we could wait a week, it'd probably be $20 to get in the door. I think
Although I do like what Cam Ward said though, because Cam Ward was real when he came out in that press conference.
keep it
He
pushing.
he had kept it real. But that's good. I mean, he's mad. He wants to win. You know what? I still won't count them out. They have talent on the offensive line. I believe in Cam. I think Cam Ward is good. I believe in him. They just got a bunch of young players in a
Good for you.
defense that's
Good for
trash.
you, man. You keep holding that flag. You keep
Look, look, it's not a flag. I ain't holding the flag. I'm just not as high on the Hawks as you. That's all.
doing
But so let me
that.
say this about the. Let me say
I've
about the.
always been big on the schedule. So I think
Yes.
this was a big game to meet the moment, right? That's where I was going. It's
Is
a
it?
big game to meet the
But
moment to
is it?
prove.
Is
Yeah,
it?
because I
No.
think I do. I think
Okay.
anytime the Seahawks have played a real playoff level type team, they've fallen short. The
They're
Packers. I
missing.
mean, teams that we feel like they're evenly matched with. Like we felt going in the Green Bay game. They're like they could win this game,
Mm,
right? But then
mm,
they got whooped. They always
yes.
get like killed in
Okay.
those
But
situations.
let me say this though. So they are facing a team that does not have their Hall of Fame wide receiver one, right?
Mhm,
Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer.
mhm,
They're missing their running back one, who's arguably a top 12 running back in football. He was statistically last year. They're just getting back their wide receiver two in
mhm.
Chris Godwin, who we don't know if he's going to be healthy or not. They're missing their number one cornerback is out. Their backup to their number one cornerback is out, right? They got injury questions about their one of their D linemen, Greg Gaines and Hassan Reddick, one of their edges. My point is, yes, it does mean something if they can beat Tampa because Tampa's a good team, right? From a talent standpoint, I think they are close. Tampa may have a slight edge, but they are very close. I would say that I would take Tampa in like a playoff matchup, or if all things were equal. I think Tampa is a better team still. I think Tampa's more of a 10-11 win team, and I think Seattle's more of an 8-9 win team. But they're playing at home, which of course you can't control that, but they're going to have I think they're going to have an advantage because Tampa's going from Florida to Seattle. But with all of those injuries, in my opinion, this makes it less of a barometer game than it could have been if, let's just say one of Bucky Irving and Mike Evans was healthy, and it was just Rashad White instead of Bucky Irving, or Bucky Irving was healthy but Mike Evans wasn't. I think that says something a little bit different. I'm not ready to anoint them as like the NFC West champion or a 10-win team if they win this game given the injuries with Tampa. That doesn't mean I'm not taking Tampa either. It just means that I don't think that this is that it's a big deal for them to, like you said, the Seahawks tend to choke in these big games, but to me it doesn't mean the same as it would if the Tampa was a little bit more healthy.
I would agree with you. I think it's hard to argue that Tampa's coming in injured. I also think I also think the reason I say it is a barometer, despite what I feel like. I mean, now one, the Seahawks are more injured than I thought they were going to be going into
Mm-hmm.
this game, which,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, evens the playing field a little bit more. Now, Bucks are still far more injured. Okay,
Yep.
not going to pretend to compare those two, but what the Tampa Bay Bucks are battle tested,
Yep.
and the Seahawks have yet to prove that they know how to win those type of games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's an argument against I mean, they really dominated that Cardinals game, and then there was a comeback, and they sort of clamped down when they had to. They took
Mm-hmm.
their foot off the gas, so that's a different type of situation. They started coasting at a
Right.
certain point. Emotionally, you could feel it, and then the Cardinals were able to war back. But week one, they weren't able to pull out that type of win. That gutsy win we just saw the 49ers pull out. Seahawks have
Right.
got to prove that they can go against other battle tested teams and
Yep.
win. And
Yep.
so that's why I think not because the Seahawks don't have advantages. I frankly they do have
Right.
several advantages. I'll say this also. I think even the games we had as the barometer games now have asterisk marks. Like that Commanders game
Hell
doesn't
yeah.
look quite as intimidating as it did before. So they're not
Right.
just going to be a ton of they're not on the schedule. They're not a ton of opportunities that even come close to this. And like they're
Right.
not playing a Baltimore. They're not playing the Bills. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not playing one of those elite teams that really is going to be a test of who you are.
Those
Probably
those games would be. I think those games would be the Niners and the Rams.
Yeah,
ultimately,
exactly. They'll be
right?
in
Because
division.
those
Right.
will be the games that'll be specifically the Rams for me, but those are the games
Mhm.
where, they should be close. I think your point is a great one that, they need to show Darnold for me needs to show me that when things aren't great around him and it's 24-21 and the Seahawks are down 3 and have the ball with 4 minutes left, that he can execute, that they can
Mhm.
win that game. And it's not solely on him, but it's him not making a mistake, right?
Yeah.
It's him staying as calm as he's been.
Mhm.
And it's like I said before, Seahawks are up 24-21 with 4 minutes left in the ball. Can they run the ball and
Yeah.
run that clock out,
Right.
right? Can they get to a place where they're in third and short, with when the other team knows they're running the ball on first and second down? Can they get to third and short and then run a little play action to salt the game away? Those sorts of little things. And can the defense
Or
go
just
ahead?
run the barnyard, dude. Like, stop getting cute. Run the barnyard.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
go ahead.
you're right. There is a little bit too much acuteness.
Yeah.
Or, like the defense in specifically in this game, right? I want to see I want to see the defense be more overwhelming. And I know that's a big ask. The defense is number one in DVOA,
Yeah.
right? The defense is playing incredibly well. But I don't it's not suffocating in the way that I think they're going to need down the road. And if this offense falters, specifically against the Rams and against the Niners and some of these other teams that we consider their equal, they're going to need that defense, I think, to be even better than it's been if they want to make the playoffs.
I can't quite get that far. They absolutely stole the soul out of the Cardinals. Now,
They
granted, the
haven't been,
Cardinals,
they haven't been great.
yeah, they were
They-
great for three
well,
quarters against that car. I mean, they had like 6 points.
they're
I
also
mean, they
relying
really did
on
suffocate that.
yeah, but that's on the Cardinals too. They're relying on the other thing is they're relying on turnovers right now as well. They're third in interceptions. Turnovers are not predictable, right? Turnovers can go up and down. That's not a thing where you can totally control it. And so if they're not getting those picks, right? If the opposing quarterback is better than the quarterbacks they face, and they're not throwing it directly to Job, twice in the game, sort of thing, I think it's different. What I'm saying is, from a suffocating standpoint, I want to see the pass rush. They're sixth in the NFL in sacks, right? They got 12 sacks, but I want to see they have the talent on that line to just be overwhelming. They have the talent and they have the scheme and they have the defensive minds to really be like people are comparing this defense to LOB. This defense is not LOB.
No,
It
not
might be number one in DVOA, but it's not LOB, right? It's not
no.
suffocating. It's not. I could see a team. I'm not looking at this defense every game and saying they're just going to snuff out the other team, right? If the other team happens to score 21 points, I'm going to be shocked. That's not where this defense is yet for me.
It's there for me, and I'll say it like this, because in my opinion, what the probably the biggest thing that's held back the defense is Reek Woolen. I
Yep.
just I, if
Yep.
we take away the Reek Woolen boneheaded mistakes and penalties and extending drives that honestly like the defense would have otherwise had under wraps,
Mm-hmm.
I think I think this defense looks like what you said, and so that's why I'm not. I mean, they got to figure out what to do about the situation long term, obviously,
Right.
and even maybe short term. We'll see. I know he's been rumored to be on a trade block, but Witherspoon's hurt. We'll see how that plays out. But in my opinion, I think outside of that, this defense has been suffocating. I think people have been gifted points
I would say that
because
I
of
would
Rick
argue
Woolen.
that they've been good. They've been good in the red zone. They've given up yards. So I got it right here. They are 11th um, in yards surrendered per game, 297 yards per game, 207 out through the air, which is 15th in football, and 90 on the ground, which is sixth in football. So the rush defense has been good, very, very good, and the pass defense has been average from a yardage standpoint.
Right.
But they're holding up well in the red zone, and I think that's a skill, right? I'm not saying that that's luck. That's certainly a skill, but it's not a skill that I think is sustainable for the entire year. I
I,
want to see more. I want to see more. Really, what I want to see is more pressure on the quarterback.
well, I started that with the Cardinals. We'll see if that continues or if that was just how bad their offensive line is. That wouldn't surprise me. But I'll say this also to your point about the turnovers earlier. This team had the opposite problem in the second half of this. Even when the defense was, on a high and everybody was excited about what they were seeing, they weren't getting the turnovers.
Yep.
Um, I I think we've seen both. I think we've seen this defense still be elite when they can get the turnovers and when they can't. So I don't think they're depending on the turnovers. I think, frankly, it's more of a regression to the mean because it was almost ridiculous at a certain point with how many
Yes,
opportunities they had last
and
year that
they
just
couldn't convert, and they
yeah, they
couldn't.
just couldn't convert them. So I think it's really more of a regression to the mean than it is them depending on it. But I'm not worried about will this defense hold up if they can't get turnovers because they are very
No,
fundamentally sound.
it's not.
Their name is not Reek Woolen.
Yes, it's not about. I'm not arguing that it won't hold up. What I'm arguing is it transcendent? Right? Is it elite? Is it top three? Without the turnovers, is it top three?
I,
I'm
again,
gonna say no,
again,
not
again, I'm
until.
gonna go back to Reek Woolen. He is responsible for I know at least 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
If you take those 3 touchdowns off the board, I, yes, the answer to me is yes. I hate to pin everything on one player, but I think that's the reality. Two of them we know happened in the 49ers game, but
Right.
also I feel like he had some holding penalties, even in the Cardinals game that extended drives and got the Cardinals points
He's
when
done
they
so
would
much
have
silly
otherwise
stuff.
been a turnover on not a turnover on downs, but they would have been able to had to punt the ball back. I think there is real, like, if you take off the mistakes of Rick Woolen, who else is getting penalties on this team?
Right.
No one else.
But we're also assuming that everyone else is going to continue to do what they've done. I think the other thing I'll say is which I think is realistic. What I will say is Ernest Jones is the most important player on that defense to me.
For sure.
And because not because he's necessarily the best player, although he might be, but it's more, if there's an injury on the defensive line, right? If there's injury at edge, they have somebody that can step up. They might not be as good, right? But they can step up. They have an injury at D tackle. Your depth might not be the same, but you still have two guys that are very, very good, that are above average. We
Yeah.
see injuries in the secondary, right? Is the secondary as good as it is with Spoon and Love? No. But is it that much worse? It's not. You're not outside of Ty Okada, who's trash in coverage. We're not, they're not targeting. They might go after Eamon Warrior because he's young, but it's not because he's not talented, right? But if something happens to Ernest Jones, this whole defense is completely different.
I agree.
He's the number of plays he's like if I know nobody watches baseball anymore. I love baseball, but like he's like if there's shortstops that make incredible plays but have 25 errors a year. Ellie De La Cruz, right? There's shortstops who only make the routine plays but don't have the range to make incredible plays. Ernest Jones makes darn near every play that he should, right? He's in the right spots. He's an incredibly sure tackler. You don't see him miss tackles very often, but he also makes plays on the perimeter where you're like, how did he get there? Right. And I just think he's, and I don't have a grade for him in coverage necessarily, but to me, he's got to be a top five, top three inside linebacker in football at this point. In terms of, I don't think he's not Fred Warner. I think Fred Warner's in a class by himself, but he's getting there, right? And I think if he gets hurt, this defense, what's that?
I said I won't pull it up.
Yeah,
I
if he gets hurt, they're gonna struggle. But what I'll say is this defense to me is, I believe it'll be a top five defense at the end of the year. I do. I believe that, but I do believe that if they can take it to another level, like I said, that's when we start talking about playoffs. That's when if they can establish a running game and if they can step that defense up just a little bit more, then we talk playoffs. But until then, I'm not ready.
they got him as a 68 coverage grade, 24th out of 132.
Okay.
Now I don't know. I mean, linebackers are so varied in the types. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm not going to take offense to that because they got 132 linebackers on here.
Well, on
That
24th out of 142 is still what, top 15
yeah,
percentile?
it's still like top, and I have a feeling that if you really filtered that down specifically to the type of linebacker that Ernest Jones plays, that puts him probably top five ultimately at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm definitely with you on Ernest Jones. Also, Leo Williams, I feel like is another pivotal piece, and I'm not sure the amount of attention that he draws from defenses. I
Right.
don't think anybody else could substitute that as well.
Right.
Tyrese Knight has looked like the guy I thought he was initially this year. Part of that is health,
Mm.
and I'm sure him playing behind the eight ball. but he definitely looks a step slow, and is every week he's losing snaps to Drake Thomas. In fact, Tyrese Knight only played like 30% of the snaps against the
Right.
Cardinals because he's pretty much losing those opportunities. He's looking a step slow. It's a
I
little
think I
sloppy.
think it's the reaction, some of the reaction time of being young, right, and
Mhm.
being able to process what's going on. I think the athleticism is there. There are times where the athleticism pops. To me, being a step slow is more his ability to be instinctive and react, which is what sets Ernest Jones apart in many ways. Is he's able to
Right.
diagnose like instantly. It feels
Yeah.
like right there is no thinking with him. He's immediately where he needs to be.
Yeah.
But
You're
what
right.
I'll say about that Ernest Jones pass grade though too is, and I don't have to remind you how bad like Bobby Wagner was in coverage, right? How bad Tyrell Dotson and Jerome Baker were in coverage when we had those guys. And so I don't want Seahawks fans to take for granted, even if Ernest Jones say he's an average coverage linebacker and he's elite at stopping the run. Do not take that for granted because we just saw what it is to have running backs running wild, in on passes because your linebackers can't cover. Ernest Jones to me is the unsung hero of that defense. He
What,
really is.
so I'm gonna say this. I've always felt like, yes, some of his age for Bobby. I've always felt like they put him in an extremely poor position. I actually just pulled
Yes.
up. They ranked Bobby 30th in coverage, actually, out of those
That's
same
because
league.
Dan Quinn knows how to use him.
Exactly.
They
I
were
felt like
hanging him
Bobby
out to
wasn't that
dry.
bad.
They were hanging him out to dry. The
Yeah, they
Seahawks
were.
were when he was here at the
They
end.
played him like he was peak Bobby Wagner,
Yes.
and he wasn't anymore. And I
Yes.
think that makes him look bad. I don't like the Rams were able to hide his deficiencies. I
He
couldn't figure out why he would come
look,
back to the
if you
Seahawks.
let him play short zone, right? But you put everything in front of him and you let him use his mind to make the play and not necessarily his a quickness anymore,
Yep.
then you're setting him up to succeed.
Hmm.
If you want him to be a trail like man linebacker on a running back and trailing that running back, of course he's going to run away from him because he's not that guy anymore. I like your point about Leonard Williams too, because we haven't heard from him quite as much this year. And I think it's because defenses really do key on him now, given
Hmm.
how good he was last year.
Right.
I also think his body type and the role that he plays in this defense is pretty unique. You don't find a lot of 6'6", 300-pound linemen that can move like he can move, right? Because he has both power and quickness. And replacing that with, say, the similar body type would be like a Mike Morris, doesn't have the same strength or quickness, right? The same explosiveness. And
Right.
then the other team doesn't have to game plan anymore for that particular position. Now they can double Murphy or they can double Reed or they can do other things that they didn't have to do before. And I think that you're right that he is a very pivotal piece. But I have nightmares about Dotson and Baker.
Mm.
And then not only that, but I remember so vividly our conversation after we saw Ernest Jones in a Seahawks uniform for a week. We were giddy
Yeah.
because the defense came together immediately. It looked so different with him playing. And the defense has continued to look that way since. I think he's the linchpin. I really, really, really do.
I mean, you can't really disagree with that. And why they haven't improved the linebacker depth, I think, is a question that I had last year, honestly. So it
Well,
seems like an ongoing conversation. I don't know if it's a weak spot for the team or not, but so far, so good. But anyway, overall, I am really excited about where this team is going. It wouldn't surprise me at all if you saw some sort of regression from Sam Darnold. That's not going to kill me because ultimately, I viewed him as fine. That will involve some performances where he outplays and we don't know what people's expectations are, and then maybe in some games where he is below
mm,
expectations. But I think overall, he will be fine. Um, when it's all said and done, at the end of I don't think he's going to be the issue with this offense. It might end up being the run game again, which will be unfortunate. But right now, that's looking like the weakest link, along with Anthony Bradford on this offense. But considering
right, Abe
all the
Lucas too. You forgot Abe Lucas. You forgot Abe Lucas.
I did not forget Abe Lucas. Of all of the questions that we had about this team, and we are just 4 weeks in, of all the
Mm,
questions we had about this team, to be able to say that those are your biggest question marks, I think is a huge win
sure,
at this point in the season.
sure.
Um, Defense, they gotta get healthy, but excited about what I'm seeing from them. Special teams, I tipped my cap last episode. I'll tip it again. Uh, they have
To
clean
who?
house.
Wait, to who?
To Jay
To
Harbaugh. Jay
to
Harbaugh.
who?
Absolutely tip my
Boy,
cap.
Jay Harbaugh told me you better tell Candace to take my name out her mouth because you was talking so much trash about him before. You wanted him
Yeah,
gone.
he
You
has he
wanted
has
him.
cleaned up a lot of the issues. They have an
Yes.
elite special teams unit right now, which is a big deal because I think they're going to need
Mm.
some of that as this offense continues to grow in itself, as this defense continues to try to get healthy. Might end up being
A
the
Sam
linchpin.
Darnold led offense without a ton of explosive players is going to need good field position to succeed, right? I think that's a part of the success right now is that the special teams has been so good. I don't trust Darnold in this offense to go 80, 90 yards all the time consistently, right? I just don't.
No,
I don't think that's
I
who they
wouldn't
are.
trust anybody to do that, but yeah.
Well, good offenses might, right? A Josh Allen might. But my point is that yes, that I again, so many things around Darnold are going well. And I think that's a part, and it's not to disparage him, but no, maybe it is a little bit, but it's that, I think that that everything around him is when you have special teams performing at that level, like I said, when you have JSN stepping up in the way that he has, when you have Charles Cross performing at a Pro Bowl level, it does change. It makes his life easier. And he's a quarterback that, like I said, I think needs those things around him to be good.
Can I challenge though? I
Go
will
ahead.
challenge this.
On
I'll
what?
challenge. Even if they're exceeding your expectations, you
Hmm.
fully expected Charles Cross to be good. You
Yeah.
fully expected JSN to be good.
I expected
So,
JSN to be good, not great.
correct. So as I say, he did exceed your expectations.
Yes.
But I don't see anybody else that is just breaking the world. Everybody else has been fine.
Uh,
And so I will push back a little bit on him
mm,
just having this elite supporting cast around him.
um,
JSN is elite.
I would say Cooper Cup has been better than I thought.
He's been decent, literally
I thought he was washed. So decent is better than washed. I thought so. Torrey Horton has been even more explosive than I think I thought he was.
but he's
Right?
not done that much outside of the one game.
No, but he's been a threat, and you've seen defenses react to him differently than say even say like a Tyler Lockett was, right? Because there's more explosiveness there. I'll say AJ Barner has been a lot better than anybody expected him to be.
I
AJ
think
Barner has been very good.
he has been very good. I think you could also say based off how good he was last year, I don't think he's playing about the same. Like honestly, like I don't think he's doing anything. I just don't see any of the world
I think he's
breakers.
developed. I think he's developed, and I think he's a huge upgrade both in the passing game and blocking than Noah Fant was. And I think you see him performing at a level. Well, not to push it back, but you were nervous when Noah Fant was let go,
Well, that's
and
true.
Barner has really stepped up. I just think we haven't seen anyone make that huge jump like JSN has, right, or Charles
Yeah,
Cross has from
that's
year
what I
to
mean.
year. But we haven't seen people be worse than there's no one on this offense, in my opinion, who's worse than I expected them to be. I
Yeah.
expected Sundell to be average at best, and that's what
Mhm.
he's been. I expected Zabel to have go through some growing pains, but be average to slightly above average, right? And I think he will get better game to game. I
Mhm.
expected Bradford to be trash at right guard. I expected Abe Lucas to be below average, and he's been
You
right.
expected him not to be on the field.
Well, and he's about to be not be on the field in a minute here. You know,
You've been saying
but
that for a
then
minute,
you
man.
what? Hey, it's 4 games in. I still got time.
Yeah, you do.
Charbonnet. I don't think he can grade Charbonnet or K9. They're going to perform as well as the line performs, right? They both have the talent to have big games if they have holes, and if they don't have holes, they're not going to be able to do it. I think most running backs in the NFL are that way. It's why that position is so fungible. So I haven't seen anyone just be outside of like I haven't seen anyone underperform what I expected out of them. Bradford's trash, but I expected him to be that, right? So if you don't have any holes in that way, then yeah, I think it is easy to be a little bit better than expectation.
Well, I
In
only
that
push
sense,
back.
what's that?
If we're saying everything has to work perfectly around Darnold, I think Darnold's got two elite weapons on the offense: Charles Cross and JSN. And I think everything else is fine. Like I don't see like I don't think I'm not putting Sam
He's
Darnold
also
to
not
be
putting up
some
huge numbers though.
crazy.
He's not
Correct.
putting.
Correct.
He's efficient. Now I don't want us to conflate efficiency with all pro, right?
Right.
Efficiency with huge numbers. He's
Right.
doing his job. He's
Right.
doing what we brought him in to do. And
Right.
yes, I doubted that he could even do that. That's the surprise, is that he's gone from worrying about Sam Darnold to Sam Darnold is taking the plays that are there. What I do appreciate about him is his decisiveness
Mhm.
in the passing game, which is not what we saw from him when he was a rookie, when he was young. And so far, I'll say so far because I expect this to change. He's really avoided turnovers,
Yeah.
right? He's really avoided making the bonehead pass, which is what really has separated him from Geno. Now, Geno's getting a raw deal too, though, because I know Geno's been pretty horrible, but their line is so bad. And
It was bad last year, and he didn't look
and but
bad.
and here's the other thing, though. Well, and his receivers are trash. But the other thing is he the play calling until last week was so bad. They were chucking the ball. They spent the number 6 pick on a running back, which is a luxury pick, despite the fact that I love Genty. I have him in fantasy. I love him. But they picked a running back that high to not feed him the ball 20 plus times a game. Why do you spend a number 6 pick on a running back if you're not going to feed him the rock, right? And so they had Geno chucking the ball all over the place. Finally, last game, they said, we're just going to give the ball to Genty and see what happens. And he ran wild. I expect Geno to be better because now there's more balance. I don't think any quarterback is going to be great without some semblance of balance, some sort of threat of a running game to be able to function. It just makes them so much better.
I agree, but I'm also going to say this, and I got to be honest about it. It looks like Geno's arm is going on a little bit. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't
the
have
arm
that
strength's not there.
accuracy. His
No, the arm strength's not quite
accuracy,
there either.
yeah, his age is. I don't think the interceptions are all due to circumstance because we've seen Geno overcome all of those complaints about bad OC, not
Right,
having a run game, not
right.
having an offensive line. We saw Geno rise above all of that and
Yep,
still perform. I mean,
yep,
obviously, he still had through some interceptions. Obviously, he still made mistakes at the end, in games. But we
right.
saw him carry and still be able to play well overall, despite his circumstances.
Yep.
He The question is, at this age, I don't think he can do that anymore. I think that's a real, if
Well,
I'm a
and
Raiders fan, that's a real concern. I don't think he
yes,
can be the Geno he used to be in Seattle at this
you got to
point.
worry. You got to worry too. I wonder if, and we would never know. I wonder if his confidence is
Mhm.
rattled
Yeah.
because it's been a good year and a half now. Where even it's been two. You could argue it's been 2.5 years since he's been great,
Right.
and it's been a year and a half since he's been good,
Hmm.
right? And you wonder if that's had an impact on him because it's not as if he's been a great quarterback for a long time.
Hmm.
And I think you're right that he's not, you know, to rewind, Darnold versus Smith for Geno versus for the Hawks. Yeah, I think Geno in this situation might have better numbers than Darnold, but I think Darnold's probably the better fit for what they're trying to do offensively, right? And I I would love to see the Seahawks run even more play action with Darnold. I just think every time I see them run play action, it's something positive is going to happen, right?
Well, I think he is actually, I've got this in my notes. He is the number one quarterback in play action right now in terms of yards per game. Let's double check that, but I'm pretty sure he is the number one quarterback. Yeah, number one yards per attempt.
Yeah.
14.3
Yep.
every time they attempt play action. So that's not, I say that to say, it's not just your eyes. That
Right.
is 100% statistically correct. He
They,
is elite
they look
play
phenomenal,
action.
and the scheme is phenomenal when running play action, which is why
Yeah,
it was so frustrating that they weren't trying to run the ball before, right? Is even if it's like they say, you don't necessarily need to have a great running game. What you need to have is the threat of a running game.
right.
They always say that because everybody understands that passing the ball is kind of what teams are trying to do, but you got to do something to get to the pass.
Yep, exactly,
But
exactly. So yeah,
I
he's been.
still
We'll
I
see if
still
he'll
need to
hold.
see that for I still need to see that form in offense. I still need to see them be able to grind out the clock when they have to because I think the defense will eventually get exposed if they're not able to put together long drives towards the end of the game. I have it here. They're 26th in time of possession. 28 minutes and 22 seconds per game. And I think, that to me is indicative of A, some of the big plays they've had and scored quickly.
Mhm.
B, some of the field position advantages they've had because of special teams and the defense.
Yep.
But I just think when there are going to be games specifically against, I think, the Rams and the Niners where, like I said, it's going to be 24-21, and they're going to need to be able to run the ball. They're going to need to be able to get a first down on 3rd and 2 without running play action.
Right. To milk the
And
clock.
yep. And we need to be able to see that they can do that at will. I think the great teams, unless you have a transcendent quarterback, the great teams are able to run the ball when they have to,
Yeah.
right? You're able to control the clock and get first downs on the ground when you have to. And that's not something they've demonstrated they can do yet.
I think it's a great point. And to your point, to add on to that, that's why I feel like this game is pivotal.
Mm-hmm.
In order to be battle tested, you got to have battles.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And I'm glad so far. I think even the Cardinals ended up making it a battle in the end
Right.
somehow. But I think I want to see more of that because, to your point, when they play the Rams in Week 11, you want to see them build that. You sort of the team builds a confidence. The team builds a. Uh, I think you almost get sharp. Iron sharpens iron, right? They
Mm-hmm.
almost get better at execution once
Mm-hmm.
they can execute in those moments and win, right? And if you can build on that, I think that's how you can win the division. I think they can get to the playoffs without having that, just because schedule NFC looks wide open, all of those things. I don't think you can win the division without having that. I
Right.
don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can make a push in the playoffs
We
without that.
don't we
It's
don't know, right? We don't know if they're resilient or not. That's
correct.
the interesting thing. They're 3-1, and we don't know their toughness. We don't know if they're resilient.
They're
We
physical.
assume that we excuse me. We assume the defense is
Yeah, they're
because
physical, but
of
are they resilient?
right.
Correct.
We assume the defense is
Yeah.
because we know those. We know the talent. We know those players. We don't know Darnold or this offensive line well enough to know if they can get through those battles.
Mhm.
And it'll be interesting because like they're playing. So week after next week they're playing at Jacksonville,
Yeah.
and Jacksonville has been hot and cold, right? But they have some explosive weapons, and they also Liam Cohen is an offensive genius, and that's going to be very. And I don't love Trevor Lawrence, or I'll take that back. I can't stand Trevor Lawrence, and I
Yeah.
don't think I think he's an average quarterback. But Liam Cohen is a really, really, really great offensive mind,
Yeah.
and he's their head coach, right? And I think traveling. I know they have a great record on the road, but it's still difficult to travel cross country. But you're right, like this Texans game on in week 7, Texans look like cheeks. They're terrible.
The
They're
defense
terrible.
is good.
Yeah, but CJ Stroud is playing like he's yeah,
Like he got the worst offensive line. Like he's got Lincoln Tomlinson
yeah,
blocking behind
yeah,
him in
yes,
front of him.
yes, exactly. We
That's how
give
it looks.
them hey, you take Bradford too. No, and that's an example of another quarterback who I think it's weird to compare him to Darnold because they're very different, but I think that it just shows if you don't have the pieces around you, unless your last name is Mahomes or Allen,
Hmm.
then Jackson to a certain extent. If you don't have the pieces around you to, you know, to help elevate you, your quarterbacks can go from being, very, very good to very, very bad in an instant.
Right.
CJ Stroud isn't really a different quarterback than he was in his rookie year.
I
He
agree.
just has no protection, right?
Zero.
But yeah, the Commanders game week 9 in Washington, they don't look great right now, but they still have Jaden Daniels, right? And they still have a lot of defensive talent. It's going to be who knows what the Cardinals are going to be down the road. The Rams games are going to be.
Yeah.
It's
And
going to
that's
be.
what I mean. That I think one of the higher quality of the opponents. This
Yeah,
is
but
they are
Tampa's a
higher
top.
quality.
But Tampa's a top 4 team, 5 team in the NFC. Tampa's good,
Tampa
like
is
good.
good. That's what I mean. That's why I said I think this, despite the injuries, right, which is a caveat to your point, I think this is a big game because it's one of the better teams you're going to play. Period. Like looking at the schedule, one of the
The
better teams
game.
you're going to play outside of the
So
division.
see if the Seahawks win this game, national media is going to anoint the Seahawks as the next good team, the going to run away with the NFC West. all this talk's going to be about Darnold. It's going to be a thing, right? It's already kind of a thing, and it's going to be a bigger thing if they go to 4-1 and beat Tampa. I'm not going to be on that train yet. I
Yeah,
still need to see. I still need to see. I need to see more in the details. I need to see, like I said, the running game get established better. I need to see them be more in a close game, be able to really pull it out. Not just luck into the win, but pull it out. They collapsed against the Cardinals, and I don't know if it was coaching, if it was mentality, what it was, but I thought they were going to lose
I
at the
didn't think
end.
I didn't think they were going to lose, but I'll say this: I don't. I wouldn't. I also wouldn't say they collapsed. I just think they
They
adequately
took their foot
stomped
off the
out.
game.
They adequately stomped out a team, and then they let the foot off the. I mean, you let
Yeah,
your foot off the gas. That sort of thing can happen. No question about that. But I'm also going to say this. I think all of your points are valid. I don't disagree with any of them. But I will say I'd rather not see a complete team in week 4. I think the teams that do better peak at the right time.
sure.
I'd rather see this team put it all together. I think we've seen a lot of teams that Seahawks specifically, a lot of Seahawks teams that like start off hot, right, and then they cool down
Yep,
and they start falling apart. I
yep,
think the things that we are wanting to see, the things that you point out, are we want to see them, but I think it's okay that we haven't seen them yet at the same time. So I don't count that against their ceiling because I want to see them work through those things. I want to see them improve in some areas, and then I want to see them get hot towards the end and be
sure,
one of those teams that can make a difference in the end. And so they do have to answer all of your questions, but I don't even care if they don't answer them in the next 3 weeks. For me, they seem to win some games because NFC West is a juggernaut. But I want to see this team get better week by week by week and
sure,
not peak too early, and that's
sure.
that's important too.
Do you think they'll establish a running game this year?
I think it'll be decent. I don't think it'll be good. I don't think it'll be what we thought it could be. It won't be what I thought they could be a top 5, top 10 rushing team. I don't think they'll ever be that. I think they'd be lucky to be average.
I guess maybe that clouds some of my view of this team. I'm disappointed that they can't run the ball, and I felt like they were gonna. That's what they wanted to build. They wanted to build this team in the mold of a power running team that's runs play action, and play action augments the run. Right, the passing game is augmenting the run as opposed to the opposite. And what it's morphing towards, in some ways, is not the opposite, but it's just it's more passing game is more important than I thought it would be. I'm
Yeah.
more comfortable. Maybe this is the Big Ten roots, but I'm more comfortable with the team that holds on to the ball and can run the ball and isn't a great passing team, but is in third and short all the time and converts quite a bit. Because you can have an okay passing game, but have it run enough play action with an effective running game, where you can scheme guys open because you can run the ball, right? But you can't scheme maybe San Francisco has in the past, but you can't really scheme a running game out of a decent passing game. It's more difficult. You don't see it as often. So I don't know. I'm admitting some bias, right? In that I want to see the running game is important to me personally, and it may not be as important to them winning at least right now. But I do think it
I
will be
think
down the road. I think it
I
will be
think
down.
they want that. I think they want what you want. I
Mhm.
just don't think you can overhaul our offensive line in one off season, especially when you only do one thing to fix it. Really, I mean, they really didn't do a ton. Like we always talked about, like they didn't get free agents. And by the way, the free agents don't look so great now. But I think you get better in the run game by replacing Anthony Bradford, probably upgrading at center. I think those
Right
two things.
tackle, right tackle.
I think right tackle is fine. I don't think right tackle is holding this team back from running the ball, especially considering Abe Lucas is a rookie was a pancake machine. Now, I don't think he's going to be a pancake machine right now, but I mean, I don't think he's holding you back. And
Until
statistics
he
do
gets
back
hurt.
that up.
Until he gets
Statistics
hurt.
statistics back up that he's not what's holding his team back from the run games. Anthony Bradford, who's supposed to be the mauler, who yet struggles to push to make those holes when it matters the most. Um,
What
and I
what
think I think that's what's holding them back. Honest, that and they got to get some. They got to get some better backs. I think at some point you got to point to the running backs, right? It can't all be on the offensive line. So I think they will. I think next year probably be super dumb. They'll really put resources into that. I'm
how
no
much
question.
I guess though is would the investment I agree with most of that. I don't with the running backs though, because I wonder, like, in order to upgrade at running back, first of all, I don't think the upgrade is going to be enormous, right? If you put who do you consider the best running back in football right now? Probably Saquon,
On
right? You put Saquon in this offense, you think they're going to have that much better of a running game?
yes,
You do.
yes,
Okay. I
because I
don't see
think
that.
part of it. I think part of it is uh, part of it's compliment. I frankly, I think there's a lot of talk about how K9 doesn't fit the system. I
Mm,
think there are some areas that Charbonnet doesn't necessarily fit the system either. Like I think if you had the a ideal running back, you'd have skill sets of that both Charbonnet and
yes.
K9
Yes.
possess.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
do I think that makes a big difference in the run game if you got a little bit of the decisiveness of Charbonnet with the explosiveness of a K9?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
honestly,
if you had Bijan Robinson is what you're saying.
yeah. Well, not quite Bijan Robinson. I
Well,
don't
so
think
to
he's
me, well, I look at Bijan, right? Bijan will be a perfect fit in this offense because he can plant his foot and go, right?
he'd
And
be a
Bijan
perfect fit
can run with
anywhere.
power, but he's got so much shape that he's got to me both of those things.
Yeah,
Saquon does too,
yeah,
but here's what I'm getting at though. This was where I was trying to get to is Saquon was the number 2 pick overall.
yeah.
Bijan I think was the number 7 pick overall.
Mhm.
And so in order to get, Genti was number 6 overall. In order to get that level of talent at the running back position, the investment to me, because the upgrade is not so monumental, right? The upgrade in drafting a guard in at like 15 or wherever they pick next year, if they were to draft a guard,
Mhm.
the upgrade to the offense is far greater,
Yeah, for sure.
infusing that talent on the offensive line than it would be to bring in a running back to replace Charbonnet and Walker, right? I
Yeah,
would love to see a different running back. I don't think that they're the greatest fit in the world. I agree that if we had someone that embodied both of those things,
mhm,
we'd be in a much better place.
right.
100% agree with you. But I just think to get that guy is not the upgrade. That's why the Genti argument is kind of crazy, right? It's who, no matter who you have at running back for the Raiders, it could be Zamir White, right, who was the backup. It's just not worth the number 6 pick. It's
Yeah,
just not. And if I'm the Seahawks, I would love to see them take a running back round 2, round 3, right? The Chargers got Omari and Hampton towards the end of the first round, and Hampton looks like a beast.
mhm,
If you can get that type of talent, Basil Tootin for the Jaguars, we'll see him in a couple weeks. It's super explosive, sub 4.3,
yeah,
right? At like 200, 205 pounds. If you can get, and Tootin, I think, was a 4th rounder. If you can get a talented back round 2, 3, 4, where yes, it's an investment, but it's not the first round pick, right? Then yes, I'm with you. I'm with you with that. I just don't
yeah,
think the number 1 pick or specifically the big contract. I'm not trying to ever sign a running back to a free agent contract because they're washed by that point typically. So we'll see. But I agree that I would love to see that guy on the. I love a bell cow running back, like a true RB1 that can catch, that can run, that can pick up the blitz, right? All those things. I love that dude. I just don't think that they have that guy. They don't have that guy right now, and the investment is a lot to go get him.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. I agree with a lot of your points. I don't think it takes as much to get them. To your point about Amari and Hampton, like I don't think it takes as much. Like I don't think you need a top 10 pick to go get
No,
a
not
talented running
necessarily.
back like that. So I'm not gonna say they can't get the talent, but to your point about is it more valuable to get a guard? Yes, I would agree with you. With
Or
that,
right,
there.
or
Sorry
right
for those
tackle.
who are watching online. I'm not sure what happened to my camera. It was doing just fine. But anyway, it's probably time to wrap us up anyway. But do you have any final predictions before we get out of here?
We talking about this game?
This upcoming game against the Bucks.
24-21 Tampa. I'm
Come on,
staying
man.
on that
I'm
on
not
that
scored for
hater.
the Seahawks.
I'm staying on
Who's
that
scoring for the
haterade.
Seahawks?
Staying on that haterade. To me, I think it comes down to I think Baker makes enough big plays in the clutch in the end to pull it out for Tampa, and I think the Seahawks are going to try to run the ball, and I think they're going to run into a brick wall in Vita Vea. And to me, at some point, Sam Darnold and I know people are gonna hate on me for saying this. I think Sam Darnold turns into a pumpkin eventually. I don't believe in his talent enough to sustain what he's doing. I just don't. And this, I think that this could be the game. So to me, is Tampa 24-21.
Yeah, I think as stat as that run defense is, I don't think they have enough. They're going to blitz a lot, but Sam Darnold's been really great against the blitz this year, and last year as well in Minnesota. So they could get at him a little bit. I'm sure they'll move him off the spot. So I'm sure it will be a test of some sort. But by no means am I shaking in my boots necessarily about the Sam Darnold of it all. I think the run game is probably the biggest threat for sure. But I'm encouraged enough by the ability of them to get the passing game going, especially because it's been a lot of intermediary work. Like you don't need a ton of long developing routes and things like that in order to get the explosive plays to this
Right.
point in this offense. And that is encouraging because I think that's what will be wide open is the middle of the field. Their linebackers are going to be money. So I'll take that. And so for me, I got the same score, but it would not surprise me if they lost this game because Baker Mayfield is just a gritty kind of dude, and I think this team needs to build again that battle tested um, experience up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that in those moments they can rise to the occasion, but it would if they can win this game, especially if it ends up being close like we think. If they can win that game, that'll go a long way, I think, to improving their chances for potentially surprising the league.
I would say that if it is a close game, no matter which way it goes, that's a learning experience for the Hawks, and that's
Yeah.
what I want to see. I want to see a close game. I want to see them have to try to do some things that they haven't had to do yet,
Hmm.
and come out of this game a better team. To me,
Yeah.
that's more important. Well, the win is always most important, but that is a very important piece of it. Yeah, it's I don't know. Baker's just a winner. And the other thing I should say one more point about you brought it up. Todd Bowles is a really good to great defensive mind, their head coach. And I do
Is he
think that it's going to be an interesting matchup to see a Todd Bowles coach defense against Kubiak and to see how Kubiak reacts to a defense that is as good as Tampa Bay's defense is. Right? Todd Bowles can heat up a quarterback real quick if he wants to.
Yep. But I'll take Mike McDonald. Honestly, I almost feel better about Sam Darnold in these situations because he deals with Mike McDonald on a daily basis. It actually almost gives me a little bit of confidence in his ability to like decipher disguise and all those sort of things. Like because he plays against that all the time in a different way. I mean, the Seahawks are not blitz heavy, but I think it's helpful. We'll see how it pans out, but I think it's a good point that you make. I'm curious to see how the blitz heavy versus not blitz heavy approach will go,
Mhm.
and with Eamon Worry back, will they go a little bit more blitz heavy than they
I
would
hope
have?
so. That's we didn't talk about that. I loved seeing him on the field for the handful of plays in week one.
Yeah,
He's wearing that number 3. He's so athletic. Like you expect him to make a big play. I'm excited to see him come back for
for
sure.
sure,
For
for
sure.
sure. All right, let's get us out of here. Tino, tell the
Yep.
folks where they can find it. I know it's baseball season and postseason.
Yes.
Mariners coming up.
Yes. So Tino Jr. 20 on Blue Sky. Yes, the Mariners start on Saturday. I wish I wasn't didn't have so much going on because I would have gone to Seattle for game 1 of the playoffs on Saturday, and my friend's trying to get rid of his tickets for this Seahawks game on Sunday. I could have had a Seattle sports weekend. Nevertheless, I am, like I said, you can find me on Blue Sky Tino Jr. 20. I am doing a lot. I'm starting my baseball database right now, which I do every year, running queries, and it's my nerdy thing. I love it. It makes me happy. It's what I do in my spare time. So you can find me there if you have questions about baseball or football, or you just want to chop it up.
Cool. All right, be sure to follow the show at Seahawks 365 on X, Twitter, and also at 360 on Blue Sky. Doing live tweeting there. Looking forward to live tweeting this upcoming game. In the meantime, that's it. That's all the time we have for today. We're out, and as always,
Go Hawks!